Hello YouTube, this is Bub's Comics coming at you with CGC haul. So here we go. You see the big box here, it's come in. We're going to go over my predictions and then we'll go over the books one by one. And let's see, we'll set this right here. I've already popped the seal on it. To be fair, I do know what the grades are. I just don't really, I don't know. I know what the grades are. I tried not to look, but I couldn't help myself, so I went ahead and looked. So we'll go through the books, and I'll show what I think the grade should have been. So the first book up is Amazing Spider-Man number 300, and my expected grade was a 2.0. I paid very little for this book. It's not a book that I ever really wanted or was, it's not like, it's not a grail of mine. It was just a book that I thought would be good to have, and my collection needs this book. I do like the book. I'm not against Venom or Spider-Man or anything like that, but it just wasn't super high on my list. And really, people want too much for that book for the price. There's so many of them out there. I mean, the book is not rare. There's a crap ton of them available all the time. So I bought this book for like, I don't know, about what it's worth now that it's been graded. I think I bought it for like 150 or something like that, which is not too bad. And it was rough. It was in super rough shape. I cleaned it up, pressed it out, did the best I could. And we'll take the little plastic off. And got a 2.0. So that's what I thought I was going to get, and that's what I got. So you see it here. It's not in bad shape at all. You hold it up there. I'll hold it up there. We'll hold it up everywhere. So 2.0. There was grader notes on this, but ultimately the grader's notes are pretty useless, I find. But bottom line on this book is that it was water stained, it was wrinkled, it was dirty, it was soiled, had creases. I mean, you name it, it had it. This is a pretty rough copy of this book, but it does present, I think, pretty decent. I mean, when you think of 2.0, you think it's going to be pretty rough, pretty stained, and it is. But from about, yay far away, if you can hold this book about maybe 5 feet away, it looks perfect. So, a great book to display. 2.0, first appearance of Venom. It is what it is. So, there you go. There is the first book in the haul. Next up, we have Wolverine Limited Series number 1. So the reason that I got this book at all was because this is the book that started it all. This is the book that got me back into collecting comics, or really into collecting comics at all. When I was a kid, I mostly collected trading cards. I did have comics, but to me, when you say you collect something, it doesn't mean that you just pick them up. It means that you also keep them, you care for them, you display them. To me, that's a collection. Just like I did with my trading cards. So when I had my superhero trading cards as a kid, I kept them in binders. I sift through them all the time. I kept them in good shape, and they're still with me today. And that's what I'm doing with comics now. But as a kid, man, I destroyed my books. I read comics and I tossed them around, and I was so rough on them. And I have very few that survived that ordeal. Only one was in good shape. So this is the book that I picked up off the rack from, it was raw, of course, because I just now got it slabbed, but it's a 9.0, and I predicted it would be a 3.5. So I had to explain myself a little bit on this one. So I have 2 copies of this book. Let me try and find the other one real quick. I don't know where I put it, but I have 2 copies of this book, and when I did these grade estimates, I had already sent them off to CGC, so I was trying to just remember what the grades were. And in this case, I think I was thinking of the other book, but this is the one because I remember it being newsstand that I picked up off the comic shop. First time I bought a comic in a couple of decades. So this was it. I just couldn't resist this Wolverine. So Wolverine Limited Series number 1 in a 9.0 white pages. Oh, by the way, that Spider-Man is 2.0 cream to off-white pages. So there you go right there. You can kind of assume what's going on there. So it was rough. So white pages, 9.0, way more than I expected to get. I think I was misremembering, though. I think I was remembering actually the other book that I have that's much worse. But this book, I didn't press it. I didn't clean it. I wanted this book to be preserved the way that I found it when I got it. So this book hasn't had any work done to it, and it was a 9.0. And really, I probably could have pressed it into maybe a 9.2, I think. I think 9.4 would have been stretching it. There's a couple of small color-breaking spine ticks, but definitely I could have got a 9.2 out of it. So there you go. So the next book we have is a personal favorite of mine. It is Superman 43. Look at this. Yeah, buddy. This book is the Mexican reprint version of the Supergirl and the Legion of Superheroes number 23. And when I bought that book for just a couple of bucks at a shop and flipped it for like $1,000, I missed it in my collection. It's the only book I've ever sold that I kind of wish I hadn't sold. That never happens. So when I sold that book, I really wanted to get this book back, but I didn't want to pay, even at a 9.6, you'd probably have to pay over $400. I bet it's $500-$600 for a 9.6, and I just didn't want to pay that. I just wanted to have it. I just wanted the art, really, and I still wanted it to be a comic book, so a print would not have satisfied me. And I had a 9.8 white pages of that book, and with that, I ended up buying my press and all kinds of other stuff. So I can't be upset about that. I'm not upset about the sale, but I did miss the book, if that makes sense. So I'll forever be hunting another one, but this one really satisfied me, and I love the Superman logo across the top. I think that looks fantastic. I like that way better than the Legion of Superheroes logo, which looks like crap. So, which isn't even a logo, it's just writing. So I'm super pleased with this book. Very, very happy to have it. I think it looks fantastic. 9.6, Adam Hughes goodness. Beauty, an absolute beauty. So next up, and I believed it would be a 9.4. So I had a 9.4 on that, so it was better than I even thought it was. And I didn't press that book either because it was awful pristine. In fact, I never even took it out of the bag when I got it. I just sent it just the way it was. And then I noticed that there was a ding on the back corner once I got it back. And that's what kept it from being a 9.8. The back cover has a crease, color-breaking crease. So there you go. Next up, we have... this. That's got my order form stuff on it. Here's a nice key. Werewolf by Night 32. And I guessed it would be a 3.5. And it turned out to be a 2.5. So here we go with this one. This is obviously a low-grade copy of this book. But I paid... just before, the price was already starting to go up when I bought this book, but it had not reached its pinnacle, which I think it's kind of close to there now. It's a very well presenting 2.5. So, you know, first of all, I've watched a lot of haul videos and CGC videos, and I can tell you that things look better on camera. That's the number one thing. All books look better on camera than they do, especially at these angles and this far away. Now, if you're up closing it and putting the little micro lens right there, then yes, I can all but guarantee you that it's going to look better here. Then it'll look worse on camera. But most of the time, it looks better on camera. And when you put things in the CGC case, it glares it up. It looks awful nice. But the books generally look a little worse. But this is no trickery. This is a well-presenting 2.5. So here's what happened. I graded a 3.5 because I had no idea what CGC would do with this bullet hole in the back. And no, I did not put that bullet through this through this book. But what's interesting to me about this book is that when I sent it to CGC, it was about a size of a quarter. and there was a flap over here that was still attached. All this was still attached, and I don't know what happened. It was still attached to the book when I sent it, and when I got it back, it's completely missing. And more of it, you can see that's like a fresh rip right there had come off. So I don't know if in transit something might have happened. If they open up the book and a little piece falls out, it's not like they try and reattach it or encapsulate it. Only what's firmly attached to the book you can guarantee to be encapsulated. And in this case, it was on there. It wasn't like hanging off too bad, but it was like a pull back, like a tear and peeled back. And I had pressed it back into place, but I guess, I don't know what happened. So to me, that's a difference of at least half a point. So really, I didn't know what they were going to do to this book, but I didn't expect them to take a piece off it. So I had it at a 3.5, came in at a 2.5, and I think realistically now seeing the book back, I think it should have been a 3 before they ripped an additional piece off. So, but there you go. Still very happy with this book. This is for my PC. I have the whole run of Werewolf by Night, so there's no way I was giving that up anyway. So that book wasn't for sale and won't be. None of these books are for sale. So almost all the books have a small scuff on them somewhere. So it's funny to me how CGC, their quality control just really is, I think, non-existent for the most part. But they're negligible, they're small, and they don't bother me, and it's for my PC. If I was trying to sell a 9.8 and I was like, oh, in a perfect case, and it had a little scuff, maybe I would get a little upset about it, but for the most part, it doesn't bother me. All right, next up we have 9.4 Wonder Woman 184. And I thought this was cool Adam Hughes cover. I thought this one was going to be a 9.2. So it came back a couple of points higher. I really thought it was a 9.2. It's got a couple of stresses here on the spine. But this book is very close to a 9.8. This book gets graded hard by CGC. Yes, there's a lot of 9.8s on the census. So like I've mentioned this before, and I've said that this is a hard book to get a 9.8, and I need to clarify that because I've been called out on it before. It's not that it's an impossible book to get a 9.8. It's not that when you send it in, you have a likelihood of not getting a 9.8. There's a large group of books on the census that are a 9.8. What I'm saying is that it's just as likely, or it seems so, that a lot of the 9.6s and a lot of the 9.4s that I see, so it's still high grade, are well capable of being a 9.8. This is a difficult book to grade because of all the faux weathering that's on the book. So I thought it was going to be a 9.2 because I really think it's a 9.6, and I figured they were going to ding me harder than that, but it's not. It's a 9.4, and that's fine. Once you see it in the case, sometimes it's actually easier to see some of these spine stresses. So it's got a few spine stresses. And, as always the thing, was it there when I sent it? I don't know. Maybe they were. So 9.4 white pages on Wonder Woman 184, classic Adam Hughes cover. I'm very happy with that. Like I said, I thought it was going to be a 9.2. So that's a super duper win for me. Next up, we have New Mutants 98, and I thought this was going to be in 8.0. So, okay, you guys know me. If something's up, I say it, right? So I don't beat around the bush too much on these things, but I don't know what to do about this book. I'm happy with it. It's a 9.6, okay, but I had it at an 8.0. And I'll tell you why I had it at an 8.0. It's a beautiful copy of the book. It's absolutely gorgeous. And when I bought it, it was just this nice. But there is a hole in the book. So the guy that I bought this from, he kept this in a glass frame. Okay? He had it in a glass frame on the wall. He was moving things around in his comic room, and he dropped the frame off the wall, and it came down and it crashed and it shattered the glass, and a piece of glass went through the book, punctured the book. Now, you can't hardly see it because I pressed the hell out of this book and got it to where it's almost invisible, but it's still there. So if you look in her eye, right there, you'll see two little scratches north to south. And then right there underneath where it reaches that kind of white part in the middle, it's got a puncture. So it's very difficult to see, of course, on the camera, but it is there. I promise you. Also, at the very top, there's a little bit of a nick, and that nick is also present on the backside. It's much more prominent against that black. So it's very, so that nick, I think, is what they charge from 9.8 to 9.6. However, if you look at the back of this book and you see the exit wound of that is very clear. So I'll give them a pass on the one on the front, on the entrance wound. But you can even see, no matter how well I pressed it, there was still just a little bit of a raised bubble on the back because there's just so much fiber being pushed through there. So if they opened up this book and went page by page, because when I sent it in, this was more flat. So I do believe that they opened up the book and went page by page and loosened up those fibers that I had pressed down. But you can see that little hole in the back very clearly. Now, is it a complete hole? No, it's not a complete hole. Because even though technically it's a hole, there's no missing pieces of the book. It's really more like two tears that meet, you know? It's like two tears that go like that, and then I pushed it back shut. So it is a hole. It goes through the whole book, but it's still complete. Everything's there. So I didn't know how CGC was going to grade it, but I figured that it would be very hard to get anything over an 8.5 with a hole through the book. But instead, they gave it a 9.6. So, and I'm not knocking CGC for it. That's just their grading. You know, it's their opinion. The reason that I bought the book is because I wanted to have the book in my collection. The guy was so disgusted with the fact that he had broke the book and broke the frame. He was fire sailing it. He just wanted it out of his collection. And if you've ever had a book like that in your collection, you know what the guy went through. When he looked at that book, he was disgusted with himself for putting a hole in the book. So that's understandable. So when that happened, he sold the book to me. I was happy to have it, and I was pretty sure that I could press that to be almost invisible. And it was pressed to be almost invisible, so much so that I got a 9.6. And the only thing that bugs me about it is that which I'm not ever going to sell this book, but if somebody did plan to sell this book, it would be kind of obvious that that nick was there. And I think if somebody was really going to grade it hard, the highest they would grade it would be a 9.2 or a 9.4. I would be really surprised to see a 9.6 out of it. But I'm happy with it. Looks good to me. Next up, we have... a nice one. We got Iron Fist number 14. First appearance of Sabretooth. Of course, that was first appearance of Deadpool. First appearance of Sabretooth. This book's important to me, of course, as a big Wolverine fan, so can't go wrong there. And I expected this to be a 3.0, and it came back at a 5.0. So, yeah, buddy. I'm real happy with this, and this is a straight-up book. So, here was my issue with this book. Why did I grade it at 3.0? Why did it come back at a 5? Well, this book has a lot of little tiny stains. They're like, it almost looks like somebody like splashed coffee at the top. It's got little tiny brown circles. Okay. Now that Iron Fist logo was dark and dingy and dirty when I got it, and I cleaned the heck out of it. And the book had severe water damage. And when I say severe, I mean, it was almost see-through. It looked like it had been damaged so much, and I was able to repair it and get it flat, which took a couple of days of work, working on the pages and getting them individually working on it. I mean, it was a heck of a project, but it was worth it because I paid like $24 for this book at a convention because it was so bad damaged. And to get a 5.0 out of it, holy cow. I mean, talk about, this is the best return on investment of all the books in this haul. So, Anyway, one of the things that bugged me about the book was that it has some sort of miswrap or miscut in some way, because the book itself, you can see, is fairly straight. The staples are aligned, and you can see on the bottom that it's even on both the top and the bottom. But then when you go up here, there's like extra pages poking through. You can see that kind of brown behind there. So you can see all those pages kind of sticking out. And it's just like a poorly cut book, like it got caught in the cutter and it's not even. So there's actually just more paper up here than there is down here. And so it gives you that effect. Now, I guess somebody might try and trim it or do something crazy like that. I would never do that to a book. I don't want to cause more damage to a book. But anyway, because of that, I didn't know what it was going to get. It's clearly a manufacturing defect, and I know CGC doesn't go as hard on manufacturing defects, especially in lower grades. So 5.0, super happy with this. First appearance of Sabretooth, looking snazzy. Love it, love it, love it. And the last book of the haul, I thought I was going to get an 8.0 on this book. Alf number 48. Look at that. Ha! So hurry up already, he says. Thought I was going to get an 8, and I got an 8. So graded this one spot on. So for me, I think 2 of them I graded accurately, and only one of them got a lower grade than I expected, and that was the Werewolf by Night. Got a 3.5 or got a 2.5. I thought it was going to be a 3.5, but all the other books were higher than I had graded them. So I guess I'm a little harder on grading than CGC. So, and people say tighter grading. I don't believe in tight grading. I think that's a poor term, because what is a tight grade? A more accurate. It's either more accurate or it's less accurate, and I don't care what anybody says. Grading is subjective. It's another person's opinion, and in this case, you're paying for what you consider to be a professional opinion. That's it. This is a professional opinion, and there's nothing wrong with it being a professional opinion. That's what it is. I have my opinion of what the grade is. There's a professional opinion, and then the buyer, if I were to sell the book, has their own opinion of what the grade is. And of course, if it's in my best interest, I'm going to agree with the professional opinion. And if it's in the buyer's best interest, they may as well. Or if they disagree with that and they say, no, there's a hole in that New Mutants 98. There's no way that's really a 9.6. Well, then you got 3 different opinions of what that grade should be. But every now and then they align, and I like when that happens. I like when what I think the book is going to be is what I get. I see a lot of CGC unboxings where people just jump through the roof when they get a 9.8, when the book is clearly like a 9.2 or a 9.4, and they're like, "Oh my God, yay!" Well, they're happy because they're going to sell it. So I don't really sell too many books. I've never sold I can't say I never sold a slab. I have sold slabs, but I've never slabbed something to sell it. Does that make sense? So I've never taken a raw book, slabbed it, and then just to flip it. I leave that to better people than me. So, but usually when I get something slabbed, it's for my own personal collection. And this is a perfect book to slab. I know there's a lot of people out there that don't like CGC or any of the third-party grading companies for that matter, and they probably haven't watched this video this long anyway. But to me, this is a perfect slab book. Do I care about the events of Alf 48? Heck no. It's all about that cover being completely inappropriate and awesome. Do I care about the events of Iron Fist 14? Absolutely. But what's important about it is a cover appearance, or the first appearance of Sabretooth, and he's on the cover, so that makes me totally happy. To me, that's his first appearance, not what's inside the book. And a lot of times these stories are terrible and the fights aren't very good. But the first appearance of Sabretooth means something to me, and I already have a reprint of this book. So any of the key books that I have a reprint of or can read them another way, not necessarily digitally, I don't really count that because they can take that away from me someday. But when I have a physical copy of a reprint, that's usually good enough for me. When they came out with the facsimile edition of New Mutants 98, that's why I decided to get that slabbed. There's another one. I could care less about what really happens in Wonder Woman 184. And I don't really care. I just like the cover. The cover is what's awesome in that book. So anyway, there you go, everybody. I hope y'all enjoyed that. There's my CGC unboxing / haul / everything, complete with predictions. And once again, CGC has blessed me with a couple of grades that I thought were that New Mutants 98 at a 9.6. You tell me what you think in the comments below about that. Am I wrong? Should CGC have graded it as high as they did with a puncture through the entire book? I don't know. It's very small. It's a very small puncture, and it's not technically a hole, I guess, because it is closed back over. So I don't know what you'd call that. But they called it a 9.6. And since it's staying in the PC, and my son, who's a huge Deadpool fan, and was long before the movies and all that stuff, he introduced me to Deadpool. That book's going to him someday, no doubt. So that's an easy one to call. So I hope you all appreciate that, and we'll catch you next time on Bub's Comics. And remember, read a comic and don't apologize for the glare. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.